Well, ladies and gents, there's no point trying to hide it. I did myself a bit of a mischief, I must admit. We're in the Victorian high country again on an adventure bike, the eagerly awaited CFMOTO 450 MT. So we were riding along a track much like this. I was feeling great. And then I saw up ahead this wet clay rut, and I just knew, I'm like, man, I am boned. It's sort of like one of those moments where there's nothing you could do. If you get off the gas, you're only going to be in a worse situation. So I just took it sweet, slapped me down. Luckily, I could laugh it off. I think I got a bit lucky there, but not too much damage. I'm a bit sore. We're sans one handguard on the MT, but otherwise she's sweet. You can all leave me alone now. I'm finally going to tell you about this bike. I don't think I can remember one other time when we've been asked so much about a particular model. This thing has a lot of people's attention. It's a lightweight adventure bike and affordable lightweight adventure bike, sub $10,000. It carries over the 450cc parallel twin that we saw in the 450SR sports bike and the 450NK naked bike, but now in an adventure bike chassis and a very much an off-road focused adventure bike chassis. See, it's pretty quick. It's surprising. I don't remember this engine being this powerful in the other bikes. Very little dive under braking. I can feel a sense of acceleration all the way up the rev range. And you get a great note from that exhaust. It's got a 21-inch front wheel, wire spoked. It's got long travel KYB suspension, 200mm at both ends. And kind of rally ergos and bodywork. I think it looks really cool, I have to say. It's really hard to talk about this bike without mentioning the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. The CFMOTO and the Royal Enfield have sort of been pitted against each other from the get-go. And it's little wonder. They both launched from the exact same price of $8,990 rideaway. They're both 450 class lightweight adventure bikes. And specification-wise, well, they're pretty well matched. Now, I'd love to have the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 next to this bike, and very soon we're definitely going to put them next to each other because we really want to see, what the difference is. But I think everyone wants to know, which one should I buy? Which one? So I think I might touch on a few points before we do a full-blown comparo. I have ridden over 5,000 kilometers in 3 countries on the Himalayan, so I got a pretty good idea of what it's like. The first thing I noticed when I jumped on this bike is, man, it is confidence inspiring in the dirt. And that's all to do with the geometry, the neutral feeling you have, and the fantastic stand-up ergos. Some of the best stand-up ergos on an adventure bike. You feel really planted on those foot pegs. I don't know if it's the angle of the forks, but it just feels like you can really get on top of it. Second thing I noticed is that engine makes so much more power than the Himalayan. It's not even worth comparing. This thing is actually quite perky. I don't remember it being so good in the 450SR. I would say it's certainly a sportier prospect off-road. There's no doubt about it. If you are purely looking for which one of these bikes is going to offer me the most outright off-road performance, this thing wins it all day. But as we all know, there's more to a motorcycle than outright performance. There's a lot of things to look for. And for that reason, I'm certainly not set on either way. In fact, I'm quite torn. I feel that the Himalayan's a more complete package. Like, you get the impression that everything has been sweated over, even though it's a really simple motorcycle. it's really been considered both stylistically and from an engineering perspective. But then, on the other hand, you can't deny that that thing is much faster. And don't get me wrong, this thing is well put together. CFMOTO, it seems that they make seismic leaps, not even each year anymore, it's happening each quarter. Like, they're coming and coming. They are absolutely improving, and I think the writing's on the wall now. These Chinese manufacturers are really starting to work out how to do this, and they're offering seriously good motorcycles. Like the Himalayan, we got a TFT screen, although this one has the, it's the type where polarized sunglasses, you can't see it, which is a bit annoying, but works pretty well. We got traction control on this thing, switchable ABS, and it's got one of the easiest mechanisms for turning that off. It's one button which only does that, and you hold it for a couple of seconds and it turns off. I love that. Other manufacturers, please take note. I love the feel of this thing just at the bars. Even when you're really losing rear end traction, the bike seems to stay composed and neutral. It loves to jump. It steers well, it steers in quite sharply, but without being too sort of nosy and sporty. It really is a great thing off-road. I'm so impressed by just how capable it is. But one thing that has seemed to always plague Chinese manufacturers, not just CFMOTO, is fueling, and it's the same thing here. If I had one complaint about this bike, it's the sensitive throttle off the bottom, like between 0% throttle closed, and around 20% throttle open. It hunts for revs. So when you're going down a hill, you kind of feel like you're, and it's really hard to be smooth. I'm in second gear, and I'm rolling down, giving it the tiniest amount of throttle. You hear that? This would be a bigger issue if it weren't for the fact that these things have what's called a T-box, and they will put out new engine map upgrades that you can do without even taking it into the dealer. It's over the air, it's called. You can remotely update your bike, and I'm sure that they'll come out with a, other tune and fix that up. It's definitely no deal breaker, but it's certainly something I noticed throughout the day. It could definitely be smoother off the bottom. But once you get going, that engine is great. It's linear, there's power all the way up to about 8,500 revs. It feels good. The brakes, fantastic. Some of the better stuff I've seen from CFMOTO. As I said, the suspension feels really good. I haven't bottomed out once, and we've been jumping, we've been sliding, we've been skating around. We've been doing river crossings. I couldn't ask for a better factory setup from a bike, in this category. At the end of the day, it's less than $10,000. You can't ask much, but what you're getting for less than $10,000, just like is the case with the Royal Enfield Himalayan, it just offers so much. And in a time when, budgets are tighter than they've ever been, I think it's fair to say. And the market is really moving towards an off-road focus in adventure bikes. There was a time when the 1200 class was all the rage, and then we sort of noticed people were sort of getting more interest in the 900s. The Tenere 700 came out and it went gangbusters. But now the displacement seems to be going down even more, and this 450 class, I feel, is going to grow and grow. I think the Hemi and this have probably set the first benchmark in that category for really affordable, versatile motorcycles that really do have some off-road capability, without doubt. So I'm going to limp back over to the bike and get stuck back into another couple of days of riding. It's a great thing. And look, I can't give you an answer which one you should buy, because they're both fantastic in their own way. Try them both and see which one you'd like, I'd say, but they're both pretty good. Ooh.